Good morning and welcome to BHC Today. I'm Pastor Dave. Thank you for joining me for these few Monday moments. Blessed are those that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. From the Beatitudes, hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. You know, that word was an extremely important word to me for many years. The word filled. When I was a child, they would ask me, because I had a big appetite, they'd ask me, well, are you filled up yet? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no, but I remember especially what I wanted to be filled up for a number of years, and that was mashed potatoes and gravy. What's your favorite? Maybe you want to tell us what your go-to food was as a child on Facebook, if that's where you're at. But what I loved to be filled up with was mashed potatoes and gravy. Dad served a church, a Free Methodist church actually, in East Liverpool, Ohio. And in that church was a wonderful woman and her husband. Her name was Virginia Torrance. And Virginia loved to cook, and she loved to have company, and we were her company quite often, and she made the best mashed potatoes and gravy in the world. So as the bowl went around, I would have a reasonable amount, and the bowl would go around again, and I would have another reasonable amount. And usually by the time the bowl had gone around twice, they didn't send it around again. However, what they usually did was turn to me and say, David, would you like to clean it up? And oh, I would love to. And so I would eat mashed potatoes and mashed potatoes and mashed potatoes, because it was a really big bowl, until I was in pain. But I finished them. And so once I was completed with my project, my eating, I would go out to the living room, lay on the couch, put my hand on my tummy, and I wouldn't say, I would say, oh. You know, it didn't teach me anything, because the next time we were at her house, I'd do the same thing again and again. What's interesting about it is that in a couple hours, I didn't feel like that anymore. In a couple hours, I was hungry again, ready for my appetite physically to be satisfied again. And then the next day, the same thing would happen. And so throughout these years, obviously the cycle of life and the cycle of needing nourishment, we continue to be which eat that which never permanently satisfies us, nourishes us, but doesn't satisfy. Blessed are those that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. What does our heart, our spirit, what do we hunger and thirst for in our spirit, in our personality, in that person that you can't see, only the expression of physically and by my actions? What do we hunger and thirst for? We are born with an appetite for the eternal, but we try to satisfy that eternal appetite with things that do not last, that do not satisfy, that are very, very temporal. It could be we try to satisfy it by earning or spending money, by trying to acquire or deserve or work for affection. Food certainly still plays a part in our lives. Food, drink, beverage, as we try to satisfy an eternal need through what we eat and drink, doesn't work. We may want to be well thought of. We may work hard to be well thought of and achieve satisfaction in our spirit as long as we're well thought of. And that doesn't always last a long time. We may want what other people have, and our appetites and our desires are driven to express wanting more, wanting what they have, seeing what they have and longing for it and trying to figure out how. We may have this need to be front and center, always seeking ways, maybe to be popular, but always seeking ways to be elevated above the crowd, always seeking ways to maybe be a person of influence in a fashion that's all about me. Blessed are those that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Yes, we try to fill ourselves with many, many things. As followers of Christ, it's easy as living in this body to still try to do that. But Jesus says, hunger and thirst after righteousness. And in our discussion about righteousness, we've been talking about the reality that righteousness is all that God is. He alone is the satisfier of our souls, our personalities. He alone gives us that which satisfies for eternity, with that eternity being a part of our life now as we follow Him. Well, think on these things if you would. Christ invites us to hunger and thirst after the righteousness that is only God, that is God alone. Jesus, the Spirit, God in three persons, He alone, they alone can satisfy. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit about other things that we feed ourselves in trying to achieve a righteousness that we think that we can put together, or we act like we do, whether we think or not. But by all means, let us live into and believe and trust and seek first the righteousness of God. That alone will satisfy us. Have a wonderful week. I hope maybe you have some mashed potatoes and gravy. I don't know if I will or not. I still love them. But when they're gone, in another week, I need more. So have a wonderful day. God bless you.
Mashed potato is so yummy. Mashed potato in my tummy. Mashed potato, I like it with gravy. Mashed potato, does that make me crazy? It's creamy, it's dreamy. Man, you should see me when I got a big bowl of mashed potato.